Okay, well, we're bringing on our final guest, and Rhonda's going to bring Renee Daniel Flagler on. And I'm going to go off camera for 1 second. I think if it'll work for me, well, I don't even know if it'll work. But anyway, because it's my stuff isn't working like it's supposed to. But Renee Flagler, I've been connected with her for a long time on social media, and I don't know for sure if we've ever met, but she has a new book out and she's going to tell us about it. So, Renee, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Oh, need to unmute.
Unmute.
Okay, there
Hello,
we go.
and thank you so much. And hey, Rhonda, how are you?
Hey Renee, it's been a minute.
It's been a long time. It definitely has.
It is.
Yes.
I love your glasses.
Thank you. I love that's my face candy.
Mm,
I'm about to say, I think you have probably a million different types of glasses, huh?
I have a lot of different colors, and yeah.
Yes. I love it.
I
I'm,
love
you
them.
know, I'm pretty vanilla when it comes to glasses. My glasses are always going to look somewhat like this,
Mhm.
or but they never. I'm not brave enough or creative enough, I don't think, to do the different shapes. But I love looking at them on other people. But I'll
Me
try it. I'm
too.
like, no, this doesn't look right on me.
Me too. And I feel like if I wore some big glasses, because I'm a small person, it would just like overwhelm me. Like
Take over your whole face, right?
you wouldn't be able to see anything but the glasses.
Well, Renee, you have been doing your thing. Um, you've been busy. I've been watching your growth. I mean, we were both back in the early 2000s,
Yep,
hustling these books and
that's
everything, trying to
right.
get ourselves out there. But you have gone from being an author to a coach and entrepreneur. Can you talk a bit about that journey?
Sure. Actually, it all started from being an author. So I wrote those first couple of books early 2000. And one day I was asked to go and talk to a group of students. And I was told that these students had never met an author who looked like them. So it was a location that was predominantly Black and Hispanic students. And when I went to do that event, I fell in love with like just connecting with young people. And I said, wow, this is something I think I want to do more of. So then I was asked to go and speak to a group of students. Actually, not even a group of students. I was asked to come to a place called Victory House. And it was a group home for runaway teens and pregnant teens. And I went there when I first got there. It was about maybe 6 to 8 young women living in this location. And the first day I went, they were kind of looking like, who's this chick? And so, but by the time we were done, it's like I didn't want to leave and they didn't want me to leave. So
Oh.
during that time, I spent 6 weeks with them. And each day I went back, we would explore books, we do storytelling, we would do journaling. By the time they were done, they were creating these beautiful stories about their journeys. And some of their journeys were quite traumatic. But I saw what the power of writing was doing for this group of young girls, and I felt honored that they let me in, you know what I mean? Like, because they were writing
Hmm.
about some really, really like very intimate, very personal, very tough stuff. And
Yes.
guiding them through that and just looking and seeing how writing can really just open people up and heal and uplift and move you through situations and things like that. And after that 6 weeks, we went from kind of journaling and we started to create characters together. That's when I first started to develop like writing curriculum and stuff, just because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these girls. Um, and by the time we finished, we had a ball. There was tears, it was laughter. We created characters. We made the characters do all kinds of things. And I was like, Lord, this is what I want to do with my gift. And so that started this whole cycle of me finding a way to come out of corporate America and into a world where I can write and then I can use my writing to
Mm.
youth. And so that's kind of where we went from that point forward. And slowly but surely, I transitioned completely out of corporate America, focused on writing full time, and then ended up going into nonprofit, where now I run a nonprofit organization.
at you. That was more to your journey than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So what's the nonprofit that you started, established? What does it do? What's the name of it? What does it do?
So, so I actually established, so my company is called Divine Right. Divine as in divine and right, WRITE. And
Oh,
so
okay.
under Divine Right, when I do publish anything indie publishing, I produce that stuff under Divine Right, but I also do writing workshops. I'm a vendor with the New York City Department of Education. I do writing programs, writing
Mhm.
residencies. I've done writing residencies with the different libraries, like the Langston Hughes Library. I went back and got my MFA in creative writing that opened more doors. I went through a program that taught writers how to create curriculum. And so I'm certified in creating writing curriculum. And that's actually what opened the doors for me to be doing writing residencies and stuff inside of like the public school systems, conferences. So I've literally taught writing from K through 12, all the way through, libraries, you get all
Renee,
ages.
I'm going to have to hire you as a consultant because people have been asking me to do that with a lot of the programs that I have, and I have no idea how to do it.
Girl, I'm
So,
trying, I can help you.
yeah, I'm about to say I might have to hire you, and I'm saying it publicly because that's the way you make things happen. Because if I just kept it in my mind, I'm gonna forget to write you and tell you that I need your help.
Let's talk.
But if
Right.
I say it
Absolutely.
publicly,
Yeah, it's like writing put me on this path. So now I live what I call my dream journey. I get up and
I
do what
love
I
it.
love. I write and I serve youth, and writing brought me to that place.
I love that. And you still have your own books.
Yep, absolutely. Hmm.
So you have a brand new book.
I
That's the
do.
segue to that. That
Yes.
just came out earlier this month
Yeah.
called
Hmm.
Unlikely Neighbors. Now, are you in like the women's fiction, romantic, suspense, or romance genres? Are you, or is this the first time you're writing in that genre? Yes.
So I've been in romance, like women's fiction. I've always been in women's fiction,
Okay.
but I've entered into the romance marketplace in 2015 with my first deal with Harlequin under the pen name Nikki Knight. And so I've written about 11 books under Nikki Knight. And then
Oh,
this
okay.
book, um, they made some changes to the imprint and they were going for something new. So this book is published under Afterglow, which is their newest imprint. And with the writing formats, it changed from the traditional romance writing that we were doing, and they wanted something more like emotional conflict, more drama, more, more of this and more of that. And I was like, well, that's what Renee Daniel Flagler writes. So
Mm,
I retired the Nikki Knight, brand and just moving forward as Renee Daniel Flagler because this book is not necessarily just traditional romance. It's more of the emotional conflict. They're both going through, a series of things. And
right.
of course, there's the love story.
Mhm. Yeah. So
I-
now the unlikely neighbors, what does he do and what does she do?
right.
So she is a social worker. And
Okay.
you'll find a lot of that type of stuff in the book. But she's a social worker. She had a cancer scare. And when she discovered that she was clear and free of cancer, she decided, all right, I've been living way too safely for way too long, haven't done all the things that I wanted to do in life. So it's time to live. So she decides that she's gonna get out, live her life to the fullest, and discover who she is because she's also adopted. So she starts on this journey of self-discovery. And she plans to move from her little small town in South Carolina, it's where my family originates from, to another, a larger town. So she's thinking she's going to Charleston. Well, what interrupts that whole plan is that she gets a letter from lawyers in New York saying that she's inherited a brownstone in Brooklyn because she was the next of kin for a great aunt. And so she gets to New York, and that whole journey of discovery gets blown all the way up because she discovers way more than she ever anticipated she would discover. And on her journey of discovery, she meets the next door neighbor, which is Noble. And he's a gentleman who started a beverage company in his college days and got investors, and it kind of blew up. And so he's has this big world renowned beverage company. But like they do a lot of times in corporate environment, they decide at the 10-year anniversary that it's time for a new CEO so they can take the company to another level because it's public. And so once a company is public, they can do what they want. And so now he's finding himself without his company, which is how he's defined himself all of these years. So now they're both going through this big, like tumultuous transition together, but they meet each other in the process, and the chemistry is like way too thick to try to ignore.
Okay, so it sounds like a combination of romance and the women's fiction piece,
Yeah.
which
Right.
a real
Which
growing
I like.
genre, among the black authors.
Mhm.
Women's fiction is expanding more and more. It's more beyond romance. It's not limited to romance, and so that's a growing area.
Mhm.
But it sounds like an intriguing story. Now, is it somewhat autobiographical? Are there any autobiographical aspects to
Girl, my life is way too bland for all of this.
it?
I get up, I go to work, I got kids, I got a husband. It's the same thing over and over again. But there's always little bits and pieces that I like to draw from my life and put into the books. Like South Carolina, my mother hails from South Carolina. It's a big part of my life. I traveled back and forth to my South Carolina all my life. My aunts, the majority of my mother's family lives there. So that was kind of paying homage to South Carolina. My friend went through a difficult couple of years. She's had like multiple surgeries because of her cancer scare. And she ended up with the BRCA1 gene. So part of that, her story is really paying homage to my girlfriend and all that she'd been through. And I always like to put some type of something we can learn or some way to raise awareness. And so I wanted to raise awareness about the BRCA1 gene. So that's why, it's just a little piece of a story, but it's enough for if you have, several people in your family who has either had breast cancer or have passed from breast cancer, then and you are not aware of this BRCA1, hereditary type of gene that really significantly increases your chances of developing breast cancer if you have the gene. Because I had just learned about it when she went through it. At least so it may cause someone to say, wait a minute, this aunt and my grandmother, maybe I need to go to my doctor and say, should I be tested for this genetic, strain or whatever.
This is what I love about fiction, though, because there are people out there who will never pick up a nonfiction self-help type book, but they can see the same subject in fiction and they can kind of latch on to the subject a little bit better, and it
Right.
makes it real for them because they see the characters as people.
Yep.
And so if this character can go through it, then maybe I can go through it. Or this character broke it down in such a way that now I understand. And
Mhm.
it may inspire them to read up on it a little bit more, or to get
Exactly.
checked, or to do research, or to learn more. Whatever it is, they're doing it because they found it in a fiction book. And that's one of the reasons why I love fiction so much. And I'm just like you, Renee. I'm never going to put I know I'm saying never, and that's a strong word, but I'm probably never going to put my entire life into a book, but I will draw from certain times that I have certain experiences, or
Right.
I might draw from personalities of people I know when I'm building my characters. But I don't know that I'm ever going to just totally put my entire self into a book. So
No.
I admire people who do memoirs or base their personal business on a character, or base their character in their personal business. That's just not me.
No, not at all. Mm-mm. I don't think I want to know all that stuff anyway.
Yeah, if I were gonna do something, it wouldn't be like I was born here and this is where I was raised here and that. It would be a book about arcs in my life.
Mhm.
And tremendous miracles. I don't think I'm gonna write that book, although you've given me some food for thought. Rhonda, you may have planted a bug. You never know what your next book or next like five books down the road But some of the things that have happened to me over the course of my life have been, uh, I don't want to say bizarre, but they're unusual.
Mhm.
Um, and people can learn from it, and also know that almost anything is possible. If you use your imagination and if you really
Yeah.
believe in yourself, you
Mhm.
know, you can just really do anything. Nobody can really stop you. Not today. Now, our ancestors, and we just talked about the Middle Passage, and those poor souls that perished along the way, and then the ones that got here, what the horrors they had to deal with.
Mhm.
But we can dream big dreams and pursue them, and it's about navigating more than anything else. So,
Mhm. It's not
uh,
much that can stop us these days, right?
yeah,
Right.
it's really you can stop yourself with
That's it.
self-doubt, but if you have a plan, you can execute it, and that does work.
Mhm.
So now, is Unlikely Neighbors a one-off? Is it just one story, or is this part of a series of books?
So this is one story. Now it could be a series because you got some supporting characters in there. But this is one book because the new imprint, the previous imprints that I wrote for with Harlequin were all very focused on series. But this new imprint is not focused on series. So this is
Oh,
a
okay.
standalone. Mhm.
And then what was the
Okay.
imprint again? Because you said it was a new imprint.
This is Afterglow Books under Harlequin.
Afterglow.
Mhm.
Afterglow. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to
Now,
look into Afterglow because from the way you described it, it doesn't sound like a straight formulaic romance. They're
Right.
they're looking for they're looking for more layers to it.
Yeah.
That might be something I can write about. I can't do the formulaic romance.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand that. I do. I sometimes did feel bound by that because Rhonda, we wrote similar stuff. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
we've had the family drama and, rich in conflict and, all of those things. So I did, there was a lot less conflict, but I really did enjoy this process more because I kind of got back to what I used to do.
Yeah.
Where there was, you had more, it's more word count too, so you can get a little more in depth, with what's going on with the characters. And if you notice, when you take a look at a lot of the romances that are coming out right now, it's this is a trend that's really pushing forward and people have enjoyed it. They want more depth. They want more from the characters. They want more conflict. They want, they want to be engaged emotionally more as opposed to just the formula of boy meets girl, boy, they want to go up
Right,
below the
right.
surface a little more. So you'll see a lot of the popular romance authors this is the industry is just trending this way. The readers just wanted a little bit more depth. So,
mhm. And women aren't like the women of 50 years ago.
mm-mm.
They're involved in all kinds of careers and professions, and
Mm-hmm.
they have
Yeah,
their own money. It's a different environment,
yeah,
and so we need to write about the now. When you're doing contemporary romance, you need to write about what's happening now with
exactly.
people.
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit more about your nonprofit and how you were able to. It sounds like it was just like almost like a straight line. You went from going into this place to meet the young ladies, and then it was a few more steps, and then you had the nonprofit.
Yeah,
So
it
is that
sounds very quick, but it wasn't that quick. But
okay?
it took years. So I was
Okay.
in corporate, I used to be in corporate marketing. And those moments changed me. And so I was looking for more and more opportunities to engage in like service and community service and work with young people. And I'd gone back to school to get a master's in creative writing because I was like, okay, I know that this is definitely the path that I want to take. And it was during my um, first time going to school for creative writing that I came across this opportunity to join this or to participate in this program called TAP, right, which is a teaching artist project. And they
Mm.
teach writers and artists and you go through this year-long program, an academic program of taking your art form. They teach you how to kind of break it down. Because when you're writing, right, you just write. You're not saying, this is what I'm doing right now when I'm writing. I'm using metaphor. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. You just write, right? If you're an artist, if you're a musician, you just, you make music. And so with this program, they really taught you how to kind of break down what you're doing and create and make it teachable and then develop curriculum and things like that. And then after that, once I did that, then then the company hired me. And so I was going into the schools and working with other artists to develop writing and art curriculum. So I was doing curriculum in the arts and education programs, going into the public schools, and then branching off and doing it myself. So I was simultaneously working with nonprofit organizations that provided these type of programs to inner city schools through arts and education. So
Mhm.
that gave me the opportunity to work with young people to teach writing and all of that. I ended up having to leave at my first attempt to get an MFA. I had to leave because my mother got sick. And so, help take care of her. But I was still working in nonprofit. So I continued at that point to work in nonprofit and to work with youth. Went back to school, then I got this other opportunity, went back to school, got my MFA, was then teaching in schools as well as teaching at the adjunct professor level. Um, the cool part was the writing constantly kind of drew me back into the nonprofit and working with youth. And in 2015, I was asked to join this organization that I'm with now to run their programming because now I had all this programming experience in developing curriculum and all of that. And so I went over there, and about a maybe less than a year and a half later, the executive director that was running the organization was leaving, and she asked me if I was interested in her position, and I was like, girl, I stopped chasing titles back when I left corporate America. I don't know about this. I'm like, I'm having fun, like working with the youth. And she was like, but I know you can do the job. I was like, I know I could do the job. I did all the management and everything. But this is what I want to do. So I had to pray about it and figure out in that role, how can I continue to really engage with the young people? And so, they helped me to figure out like in this role, I can not only engage with the young people, but I can be the person that opens the doors and creates the opportunities and develop the program like at a much higher level. And so 2017, I stepped into the role of executive director, and I've been running the organization ever since.
Amazing. You have just had, I am really awed at your journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting when you go from seeing, like I said, when we were out hustling them books back in
Mhm,
early 2000s,
girl.
and then when you see somebody who's taken a similar journey and you
Mhm.
see where they've come, I mean, I'm proud. I mean,
Thank
it's,
you.
we always talk about the celebrities and what they're doing. I was talking about people like LL Cool J and his trajectory from being a teenage rapper up to being a really really great TV actor. And you look at Ice Cube, who's like one of the scariest gangster rappers back in the day, and now he's doing children's movies. But
Okay.
then but we forget about us, are normal people who are doing great things. So I'm going to give you your flowers publicly. Keep
Thank,
doing what you're doing, Renee.
thank you, Dr. Rhonda.
Yeah, it's important that we work with our next generation that's
Mhm,
coming up because they have some major challenges that we didn't have. Um, we didn't have social media and all of the distractions
mhm.
and access to things that were, the things that were bad for us were hard to access.
Yeah.
Now they're easy to access.
Yeah. We had to
Yes, we had to
actively bang.
actually pursue it.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to leave home. And
Exactly.
children are not, they're not equipped to with discernment.
Mm-mm.
They don't, they're sponges.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to pray for our next generation because it's tough.
It's tough.
And I don't want to end on a downer, I am very excited that the people like you out there, Renee, working with our young people. We only have a minute left, and we have to do our outro. So show us the copy of your book one more time, and we assume Unlikely Neighbors is available wherever books are sold. Renee Daniel Flagler, and it's good to see you. I think I may have met you once a long time ago. But it's
Yeah,
been
it
like in
was,
the early 2000s, like Rhonda was
yeah.
saying. But keep doing what you're doing and continued success.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it. Good to see you two both.
Good
Okay.
seeing you as well. Take care.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Okay.